What if I told you that you're longing for something more, that deep draw inside of you to build something to get your family off the struggle bus isn't crazy? I often hear people say, well, I like the idea of being my own boss, but I would have no clue what I would even do. And even if I did, I would have no clue how to do it. In fact, it was kind of fun this morning. A memory popped up of a story I did exactly 1 year ago on one of my social media accounts. And it was addressing this same thing. How do I know what I would do? Can I share something with you that when I first heard it was so surprising? And I actually didn't really believe it, but I trusted the source. So I leaned in to learn how. Most people already know what they were created to create. And most people already know what they're passionate about. In fact, it is highly unlikely that you don't know what you're good at. And yet, if I ask the question today, most of you would say, I have no clue what I'm good at. Well, I was most people when I first heard this information. But I decided to learn why we feel that way and how to fix it. So, in this video, we are going to peel back all the layers of the onion to understand why so many people feel lost or feel like I don't have a creative bone in my body. By the end of our time together, you are going to be equipped and ready to revive the things that excite you. I want you to feel empowered to step in creating what you were created to create. So you have the potential of changing your family's life forever. If you are in a place where it's practical, go quickly and grab a pen and paper because you are going to want to write things down. If you're listening to this video in the background, definitely hit that save button to find your way back here because I'm going to be giving you guys some actionable, practical steps that you can take today to confidently move forward in being your own boss. And more importantly, step toward what we're told to do in Proverbs and build an inheritance for your children's children. All right, let's go. From the age of 18, yep, not even 1 year out of high school, I always had some sort of business going on. Most of the time, it was like a form of network marketing or a side hustle, which we didn't even have a name for at the time, but I was doing it. But I had such a desire to build an income outside of the box, even though I had no clue what that should look like or how it could even work. I just kept hopping around and trying different things. Yet nothing seemed to be quite it. Like I was looking for that magic and I was just trying to find that thing that worked. I was watching all of these things that were working for all of these other people, and yet nothing just quite worked. It would work maybe a little bit or maybe just enough, but I never seemed to like get over that hump, where the snowball effect is on the downside of the mountain. In fact, I hopped around so much that I'm pretty sure my entire family was like, oh, what now? When I started a new business. And I put that in quotes for a reason, but I will explain that in a little bit to you. Have you heard of the saying, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day? Teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. My whole purpose here with you today is to equip and empower you to tap into the skills you already have. I want to give you an opportunity to gain the skills that you need and then begin breaking that poverty mindset. Maybe you don't even realize that's an issue. I want you to be confident in your unique purpose, and let's pivot away from focusing on lack. We have a God of abundance, and that's where we're going. I'm going to give you practical steps, but I'm not going to just give you a list of, let's say, business topics or ideas to choose from. And that's very intentional because I don't want you to like box yourself in or even box yourself out of something just because of a list that I give you. I don't want you to exclude your idea. And that will just kind of lead you to pick something from the list. But if you just pick something from the list, you're going to have a very hard time gaining any traction. And it will likely end in burnout. And I want to set you up for the best possible success. So today we're going to learn from my mistakes and make your life so much easier because the journey can be so fun and so rewarding. Remember how I said like I hopped around? Okay, so let's list some of them. I was in makeup, insurance, real estate, health and wellness, events. Let's not forget about the bag company. Actually, I will say this, that was in name only because my daughter, who was, I think she was 10, she was either 10 or 12 at the time, she wanted to be a brand rep for them, but legally she couldn't. So we made it happen, found a workaround by putting it in my name, but she ran the show. And I'm happy to report she is a very successful business owner today. She's in her early 20s and let's just say she did way better than I did in my 20s because of the things she's been able to learn along the way. I'm so proud of her. Okay, back on point. The point I'm trying to make is that I tried everything. And eventually, I picked up a book written by Henry Cloud. The book's called 30 Days to Your Dream. I will link it here somewhere for you so you can just go ahead and reference that book. And in that book, now 30 days, right? Day 3, very early on, he asks, when you were a child, what did you do with your free time? And I literally froze. Like I had no clue how to even begin answering that question. I was like, um, well, that's a good question. And honestly, it was really humbling and a bit scary that I couldn't recall those memories, but it wasn't something I had thought about it at all. Like I just hadn't done reflecting. I hadn't done any reflecting on that. I did, however, know that wasn't what I was doing at the time, which was sitting at a desk behind a computer all day long. I'm going to make a side note here about strengths. I love this definition of strengths. So, when you think about what are my strengths? What are your strengths? When you ask yourself that question, I want you to remember that your strengths are not necessarily what you're good at. Okay. So, for example, I'm actually pretty techie and I can build a good website. I hate building websites. I just loathe building websites. It is not my gift. I mean, I can do it and I can do it well. So most people would think it's a strength, but it drains me and it exhausts me. Therefore, it's not counted as a strength. And I'm going to task that with somebody else. So when you think about your strengths, I want you to think about, because we're going to get into this here in a minute, I want you to think about what am I good at that also revives me and fills my cup. Oh, I cannot wait for you guys to dive into this. Okay, so back to the childhood question. It was a question that should have been easy to answer, but in reality, it was like, where did that information go? Like where in my brain do I have to extract that? Because what I learned is that not only did I bury the beauty of dreaming, but I couldn't even recall what I enjoyed in my childhood. So I started thinking about this in how and why do we stop dreaming? People stop dreaming for a lot of reasons, and it's completely unintentional. Most often, it's because we have to start adulting. So we just slip into what we're taught, right? That expected repeated path: work, sleep, repeat, work, sleep, repeat. Then you have kids and you work in the sporting events and the school events and all of that. But also, some of us quit dreaming because we were surrounded by people who discouraged dreaming, or maybe even told you your ideas were foolish. So stop dreaming because that's not how life works. Regardless of why you stopped dreaming, or maybe never even let yourself start dreaming, I want you to be excited about your gifts. We are going to dive into thinking about what excites you, what fills your cup and energizes your soul, because there is something uniquely woven into you that you were created to create. So let's get right to it. And we're going to take some practical steps towards identifying your purpose. Okay, here we go. Okay, this is where you're going to need that pen and paper. So get ready to write. But there's 3 guidelines I'm going to give you before we actually start this exercise. Number 1, you may need to repeat it. And that's okay. Don't worry about that. If you get to the end of this and you're like, "Oh, I really need to go back to that again." Totally okay. Number 2, do not filter or qualify your answers. If it comes to your mind as I ask you the question, write it down. It doesn't have to make sense right now. It may not ever make sense. But the minute you start going, nah, or really, you start overthinking. And that overthinking is going to snowball on you. This includes do not filter. If something comes to your mind and it's something that you've already tried and failed at, okay? Don't filter if it's something that seems bigger than you desire, or even if it's something that you feel like I could never afford to start a business like that. We're not filtering, all right? If you are a follower of Jesus, then I suggest you stop and pause this for a moment and invite him into the process. Ask for his wisdom and ask him to reveal to you the answers as we go. All right. Third thing is to write down your answers on a piece of paper. Our brains process things differently and they make different neural connections when we physically write something down. I'm not even going to pretend to know how it works. Go see Dr. Caroline Leaf if you want to understand how all of that works. But it does make a difference when we have physically put our hand and pen to paper and write something down versus a note on our phone. Now, if all you have is an electronic way to respond right now, it's certainly better than nothing. So don't let that stop you. But if you want the most out of this, then grab that pen and paper or be sure to come back with a pen and paper and do this exercise again. If you already have a business, do not limit these answers to that current business. For example, if you have a cosmetic business, let's say, don't limit your answers to be about helping people with cosmetology or with makeup. There are so many areas that you could complement what you're already doing, and it never hurts to diversify your wealth generation. So, we're not going to limit. As I ask these questions, I'm going to keep going with them for the purposes of the video, but you are definitely going to need to pause in between questions so that you can answer these questions right here, right now. Again, if you're listening in the background, listen to them all the way through, even if you can't write things down right now, because it's going to get your brain going in that direction. And then when you do come back to listen to it, you will actually be hearing it a second time, which does also more to our brain. So never, ever, ever be afraid to listen to things on repeat. I also have a worksheet for you. So if you just want these questions printed out on something, I will link that for you as well so that you can have that as a resource. All right. Are we ready to dive into the questions? Okay, question number 1. What activity, hobby, or task are you doing when you lose track of time? Question number 2. Before you had to adult, what did you see yourself doing? So, with your words, I want you to paint me a picture of that. Number 3, money is no factor. What would you spend your day doing? Dream, be creative, don't limit. Okay. Doesn't even have to do with business. What accomplishments are you most proud of in life? Again, we are not filtering. This can go all the way back to winning the state championship of your high school football team. Whatever accomplishments come to your mind that you're like, I am really proud of that, write it down. Okay. So when you think to yourself, oh, if only they knew blank, their life could be so much better. I want you to fill in that blank. Okay, next up. What one problem would you like to solve for people? I'll put this in another context depending upon what business ideas you might come up with. It might be better to answer what one experience would you like to give people because your business may be about creating experiences. Next up, what type of advice, skills, or knowledge do people seek your assistance or input with? Think about that. What do you admire most in your life or in business and why? Okay, this is a fun one. You have been promised an income of $30 million a year, but in exchange, you have to start a business. What business are you starting? That's a fun one. I love that one. Okay, what do you want your legacy to be? What do you want others to remember about you? Like, think about what kind of impact do you want to leave on the lives of others who had the pleasure of knowing you? We're almost done. Next up, what skill, knowledge, or memory do you want the next generation to be empowered with? What do you want them to carry on? This might be something you see being lost or just something that you have a passion for helping people know and understand. If you're like me, it was because I wanted people to learn from my mistakes, do better than I did. Okay, this last one, you are going to need to enlist 3 to 5 people that know you and respect you. Okay, people that cheer you on, you know they have your back, you know they want to see you succeed. So, yes, you're going to not be able to do that right this moment because you're going to finish the video before you do this, but we're going to insert it here so that you write it down. Make sure you follow through with this because this is going to be important. Okay. With those 3 to 5 people, you are going to give them no context. And then you are going to ask them to complete the following sentence. If you want or need blank, you know that I'm your girl or I'm your guy to help you with that. Okay. If you want or need blank, you know that I'm your girl to help you with that or guy to help you with that. Sometimes we are our own blind spot and we can't see our strengths. So, this can actually give us great insight to know how we are already impacting other people. If they push you and they're like, why? That's a weird question. What are you doing? You can just say, I was actually just challenged by my coach to ask these questions and give you no context. So that's all I can tell you. And it is so fun to see what people come back with. I will tell you, when I was tasked with that question to my 3 to 5 people, they all came back with something that was very similar, but had nothing to do with my business. And I was like, oh, well, that isn't helpful. But as I learned and assessed and prayed, I actually found out how exactly helpful it was and how God worked that into my business. So don't worry if it doesn't make sense, or don't worry if it's not completely related to business. Maybe it's about a personality or a character trait. Honestly, those are great things as well, because that shows that you have built a reputation and a trust with those people. Okay, so we're going to keep going on to our next portion of peeling back the layers of the onion, even though you don't have the questions to that last answer yet. Okay, let's keep going. So you may be thinking, like, okay, Kelly, this is great, but do you know how many Pilates instructors there are? My niche is oversaturated. Nope, red flag. Beep. Stop the lie. Change the tape. There is room for you. So let's talk logistics first, and then we're going to reveal the magic. Do you know How many people every single month are on Instagram currently? Okay. Let me tell you, 2.8 billion people every single month are on Instagram. That is unique users. Okay. And that is just Instagram. That does not include TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, or X. That is just Instagram. Okay. There are so many people out there, you guys. And the coolest thing is that social media is giving us access that we didn't have even 5 years ago. All right. There was one night that I was sitting at a curbside to go. I was headed up to see my daughter. She lives about 2 hours away from me. So we were grabbing our favorite allergy friendly meal. And I thought, oh, I'm just going to take this up when I get there. We can enjoy some dinner, some good food, and just spend a few days with her. I noticed that there was a new pizza place. And I thought, wow, another pizza place? And then I thought, okay, I wonder how many pizza places there are right in this vicinity. Now, I was in a suburb, okay? So there's about 70,000 people in this suburb, and this suburb covers about 35 square miles. So I opened up my Maps app and I just looked up, I just typed in pizza, okay? Within a 3 mile circle, like diameter, okay, there were 17 pizza places. And I was like, what? 17? Now, 17 pizza places in a 3 mile circle. And I was in the heart of like heaven, right? Every possible type of food that you could imagine was all in that area. And included in that were 7 different possibilities for pizza. Now, yes, some of those businesses are going to fail, of course, but it's not because there were too many pizza places. It's either because nobody was honest with them and said, hey, man, you don't really make a good pizza, or because they don't know how to build a brand and they didn't seek the right coaching or team members to build the brand for them. That's a whole different game. My point is, there is space for you, and there are plenty of people to go around. You just have to decide to switch your perspective. And people need more than one expert in their lives. I have a messaging coach, I have an ads coach, I have a Bible business coach, let alone others that I need their area of expertise. I'm currently working on for a different business, building an app right now. And you know what I did? I sat down to build the app because I'm like, I can learn this, I can do this. And then I thought, why am I taking my time to build an app when there is an expert out there who knows how to build the app, who knows how to make sure it gets good placement and gets in the stores and works on every single type of phone? I don't want to take my time to learn that. I need to apply my time somewhere else. So I will have that expert in my life when it's time to actually build that app. Think about the pizza example for a second. Sometimes you're in the mood for Domino's, sometimes it's Papa Murphy's, Papa John's, or Punch Pizza. Why? Because nobody makes pizza the same, which brings me to my next point. This is where the magic is. So let's go back to pretending your niche is Pilates. How we ended up on like Pilates and pizza, I don't know. Don't ask. But if you're going to have all the pizza, you need the Pilates, right? So, okay, there is nobody, and I mean nobody, who can teach Pilates in the way that you can teach Pilates. There is nobody who can teach business in the way that you can teach business. Not me, not Myron Golden, not Russell Brunson or Grant Cardone. Nobody. Why? Because there is nobody who has your unique experiences and your unique knowledge and your unique mind to communicate and share the knowledge in only the way that you can communicate and share the knowledge. Okay, well, there's only one you. Somebody is waiting on you for their breakthrough. You are the answer to somebody's prayer. You are your superpower. Oh my gosh. Okay. Are you with me? Are you grasping this? Oh, I hope so. I hope so. This is something to be so excited about. So stop thinking you can't do it. There's too many people. That's not true. And I don't care if there's a pizza joint on every single corner. Somebody needs your pizza joint. Somebody needs your way of teaching Pilates. So, no holding back, no more excuses. Okay, let me take a deep breath and let's wrap this up. So now you have your idea, you know there is space for you, and you know that you have that gut, that desire that you were made for more. But there's one question you might still be asking yourself. And I'm sharing this with you because this kept me stuck for a long, long time. And I hope that this final kind of nail in the coffin to your doubts is going to help you move forward. And that last question is, how do I know I'm not crazy? How do I know that I am supposed to pursue starting a business? Especially if it's like a normal business, right? Which takes time and consistency to build. How do I know I should keep going? I can answer that for you really simple right now. Ready? I'll write it on here. You are not crazy. Yes, yes, yes. You should absolutely start the business. Okay, you might be thinking, how are you so sure of that? Because you are right here, right now, seeking answers. And that means you have the desire, the inkling, and the yearning. And our desires come from our Creator. Let me ask you something. Is God a God of success or failure? Success, right? Yes. Is God for you or against you? I'm going to share with you something that one of my coaches shared with me. And literally, it blew my mind. And I was like, wow, I've been reading this book my whole life, and I never put those things together. Okay. So, when you are meeting someone for the first time, what's the first thing that you tell them about yourself? You tell them what you want them to know about you, right? So oftentimes, this is what we do for a living. It's our job. Okay. Why? Well, because for so many of us, that is our life, right? And for so many of us, it becomes our identity and our validation. Whole nother video right there. But let's take that concept. We share first what we want people to know about us, and then look to see what's the first thing that God tells us about himself. Well, cool thing is, we don't have to go any further than Genesis 1:1, which says, in the beginning, God created. All right. Now, let's fast forward to Genesis 1:27, where he said he created man in his image. And he said it twice, just in case, we missed it the first time. And then he said, go be fruitful and multiply. And no, this doesn't just mean have kids. I mean, that's part of it, sure, but that's not all of it. And then he says, have dominion over it. Okay. So we know that God, the first thing he told us about himself was that he created. We know we were created in his image. All right. And if we're created in his image, then what are we created to do? We are also created to create. Okay. And then he said, go be fruitful. Well, I can't spell today. What does fruit have in it? Seeds. And what happens when you spread those seeds?
or plant those seeds. It grows a tree, which has more fruit, which has more seeds. Okay?
Go be fruitful. And then I also love this part. He says, go have dominion over it. You know what this means? Own it. Own it with confidence. Okay? So
Own it.
yes, absolutely. So let's not forget that we were also created completely unique. So even though we were all created in his image, we are also all created completely unique. And there is only one you, and only you can do what you do in the way that you were created to do it for the people that you were created to serve. Take a look at Ephesians 2:10. It says, "For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." Sometimes with the English translation, we can lose that depth of meaning. So I like to refer to the Strong's Concordance. And when I did, handiwork means workmanship. Let's see, I'm running out of room here. Or product. Okay. Workmanship or product. Good here means good. We can also look at it as meaning benefit. And the word works here, okay? So again, for we are created in God's handiwork. Sorry. For we are God's handiwork. We are God's product. We are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works. Okay. This is not necessarily deeds. When you translate the word works here, it literally means, this is so cool. Okay. It literally means occupation.
Occupation or to work.
Okay. So now we can look at this and know that we were created in his image to create, to do occupation and work that benefits. And he prepared in advance for us to do that, which means he already knew that you would be here with these questions that needed answers, and he already paved the way. He's just now waiting on you to take action. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is so good. Okay, so we're going to recap this. You were created to create. You were created to spread and grow what you know and are gifted with confidence in only a way that you can be, because no one on this earth has your knowledge with your experiences and your purpose. There is only one you. So we're going to reframe something. I'm going to tell you now it's time for you to adult, but we're going to adult the right way, which means you get to decide to take action and change your future. Do you remember being kids and we like couldn't wait until we were adults, right? Because then we could decide and nobody was telling us what to do and we could do what we wanted when we wanted, all of this, right? So, adult, make the decision today to take action and change what this time next year looks like. Go act like the masterpiece that God created you to be. I have to warn you, it's going to come with a warning. When you start your own business, people are going to think you're crazy. And unless they're an independently wealthy millionaire who is still building wealth for themselves that will continue for generations, ignore them. Why? Because they're stuck in the same trap that our culture teaches us. Where in the history of creation, in our guidebook in life, do you read, well, my plan for you is to sit at a desk and listen until you're 18, then move out to a place where you accumulate debt for 4 or more years, then work to pay the bills, and maybe, hopefully, choose something that will pay you enough to take 2 weeks of vacation each year until you're old. and then retire with a lower income so you can have fun. Now, listen, listen, listen. I am not discounting that there are certain things that need that higher education. If you are going to be a surgeon, please take that higher education. I would like to know that you have been properly trained. Okay. So I'm not discounting all of the needs for that. I'm discounting that everybody needs that because I think God made us all unique, right? He has a different path and a different plan for us. I also am not going to be discounting investments, right? So I get you can work a normal 9 to 5 your entire life and invest correctly, which even if you have your own business, you should be investing. I'm not talking about that here. That's step 10. We are on step 1, which is the idea phase right now. Okay, so I realize that those are things as well. But what I just kind of recapped for you, I didn't find that anywhere in the Bible. In fact, I encourage you to go back, start in Genesis, and read the Bible with business in mind. It has been so fun for me to go back to something that I've known my entire life, a book that I've read, stories that I've known. But this time, go back and look at it with business in mind. God is all about business. 2 years ago, I had built a six-figure a year business and was burned out. I remember I was working on site for a client, which wasn't normal, but this was a special case and I just felt like it was the right thing to do. And so that meant I was out of town. I was about 9 hours away from my home. And I remember sitting in this unknown town. And you know how some of those towns, like, they have factories and stuff and there's just a stench in the air. Well, this was one of those towns. So here I am on a Friday night, hot summer night, which didn't help that at all. I was in an Airbnb that was in an apartment, and I was sitting outside because the the other stench was warm vanilla, like, plugins, you know? They put them everywhere to cover up the smell that the college kids left behind. And that was just overwhelming as well. So I sat outside for a little bit and I was tired. It was too tired to make it home. I had about a 9.5 hour drive. My niece's birthday party was that weekend, but I was too exhausted and I knew it wasn't safe. And I just remember sitting there thinking, God, this can't be it. I have nothing more to give. So, how am I going to scale this more to be more financially stable? On top of the fact that it's just me, I am the sole income provider. So, if something happens to me and I can't work, then what? Everything stops. And I don't want to burden my family with bills. There's got to be something different. And in that moment, he spoke so clearly to me, not audibly, but so clearly to me that he said, "My daughter, you are hustling as the world taught you how to hustle, not how I intended for you to work." So he led me to some fantastic mentors, and I put all of my time into gaining the knowledge and the skills that forever changed how I do business and brought me here with you today. So I'm going to leave you with one last action step to take with you today. Earlier, I said when I started a new business, and I put it in quotations. The reason I did that is because every time I was doing that, I was doing it to try and see if it worked. So it doesn't work to just try. I want you to remove the word try from your vocabulary. Don't start this business with one foot in. Be all in. Let your 9 to 5 be your first business partner that funds this adventure, but be committed to building a business. As of today, you are a business owner, and start telling yourself that I own a business. I'm building a business. I have a business. I hope today that you were encouraged, enlightened, and empowered to go do what God created you to do and serve those that He intended for you to serve. I'm going to see you back here next week, if not before then, on my socials. Please do all the things that you're supposed to do, like and subscribe. If this video helped you today, I would love to have your feedback, and I cannot wait to hear your story. I'll see you next week.